Hello people, I am here to do this tutorial for this game, which is the Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth, the card game. Alright, it is a game designed by Andreas Zimmerman and published by Playroom Entertainment. And what you get inside the box is just this deck of cards and the instruction booklet. That's it. You don't get any dice or tokens, you don't need them. So it's just the deck of cards. Let's see how it's set up. Now let's look at the cards that you get in the deck. You have two reference guides here for the counterattacks. We'll get to those later. You have the enemy cards here with the Eye of Sauron on the back of the card. Here we have an example. Here we have Ugluk, who is a captain. These cards have point value, and also here these circles, which we'll explain in a moment, which tell you what you needed to defeat him. Now, the ring cards, we have either Mordor Cards, which have a negative effect on the player, or we have companion cards, here like Arwen, which are the ones that each player has in their hand. Prior to playing, you must of course separate the enemy cards from the ring cards, and also here separate the Mordor cards from the companion cards so you can do the first deal of the game. Very well, I have now given 3 cards to each player. Here we have Treebeard, Elven Warrior, and Gambling for player 1, and I have Angbor, Human Warriors, and Elwyn for player 2. I still have the Mordor cards here separate, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shuffle them into the ring deck. I have now shuffled the Mordor cards into the ring deck, and from the enemy deck I have picked the 3 cards from the top to be the 3 starting enemies. Okay, so these enemies are in 3 positions. This is the first position, the second position, and the third position. Alright, so here we have the 2 decks, the 2 hands for the 2 players. Normally, they would grab them like this, but for the sake of the demonstration, I have them here placed on the table. Now, on my turn, I can do one of two things. I can choose one of my character cards here, my companion cards, and place it on the table, starting a fellowship. And if I want to, it is optional, I can attack one of the enemies, or I can draw a card and place it in my hand. Alright, let's start with the first option, where I place one of my companion cards on the table. I'm going to choose Elven Warrior, and I'm going to put it right there and start my first fellowship. Now, I can either leave it there, and on my next turn, I can place another character and increase that fellowship, or if I want to, I can attack. Now, how do I attack? I choose one of the enemies that I can either equal or surpass the number of colored symbols. In this case, I can attack the Ugluk because I have 2 red ones and they have 1. The Nazgul, 2 red ones, I have 1. And the Grishnak. However, I do not have the other colors. See, I don't have the purple and the yellow. I don't have the blue and the violet, So Elven Warrior would not be able to attack any of these. I would lose. Alright, so I'm just going to leave Elven Warrior right there. On his turn, player 2 would do the same. Choose one of his characters. In this case, let's say Angbor. Now, you'll notice that here Angbor has this symbol, which does not have a color. That means that this is a wild card symbol. It can be any color that you choose. Of course, even so, I only have 1 of them, so I could not attack any of these. On my second turn, I still have these cards, and I'm going to decide to use the Treebeard, which, as you can see, has that wild card symbol. And I'm going to make a fellowship right there with Elven Warrior. Now, I could have placed them over here and made a separate fellowship. If I want to, I can have as many as I want, but I'm going to place it here and have Treebeard and Elven Warrior together, and then now I can attack. I can attack the Grishnak. All right, I already have one red here, and I'm going to make this one a purple. All right, so, and this extra red one that I have does not carry over. I lose it. So I attack the Grishnak on my turn. I discard these two cards and place them over here next to the ring discard pile. And I take the Grishnak as my enemy that I captured, that I defeated, and I gain 3 victory points. So those are mine. All right. After this, what you do is you draw another enemy card and put it over here. Now we have Gollum right there, which has a value of 3, and you need a green symbol and a yellow symbol to defeat him. Now, in this second option, where you draw a card, like I said, if you draw a companion card, you put it in your hand, and your turn is over. But let's say it is a Mordor card, all right? Now, these, of course, have a negative effect, but they don't come into effect immediately. What would happen is you would place it here, what is called the first position, under the first enemy, all right? And you keep on drawing cards until you get a companion. But let's say, and I've already placed the cards so that they come out like this. Let's say you have another Mordor card. So you do not put it here. What you do is you scoot this one over here and place this one here. All right. And then you keep drawing cards until you get a companion card. But let's say again, you draw and it is another Mordor card. Again, you scoot this one over here. And then you place this one here. And then this one is the one that comes into effect. And it says here, each player must discard a card from their hand. So in that case, I would have to choose somebody from my hand to discard. Put it over there. I would be left with this. And the player 2 would also have to choose somebody from their hand. Choose somebody and discard it. It is worth noting that if a player is unable to do what the card says, nothing happens. He just, it just passes. But once the effect is done, once the Mordor card has taken effect, it is then placed face down in the dead card pile. Now, as an example, there are 3 possible negative effects that they can have. Here, each player must discard a card from their fellowship, meaning the ones that they have already placed down here in their fellowship. They would have to get rid of one of these. Another is discard a card from their hand, meaning the one that they have in the hand. And the other one is each player must discard an enemy card if they have one. In this case, if I had captured here the Grishnak, I would have to discard this as well and put it over here. Now, some of the companion cards have special abilities. Here, like a Mary, who, it says right there, ask another player for help. How does this work? So, when you are going to attack and you don't have enough symbols, you could ask another player to help. Like, they could say, help me with the human warrior. And so you would add these 2 symbols to your attack. All right. After the attack, you would then give this card to that player. You would give the card, and at the end of the game, it would be worth 1 victory point. A similar thing happens with Gandalf. Now, in the case of Gandalf, it says, take a card from a player and give them Gandalf as a point card. So, you could take another player's card and put it with you, and you would give them Gandalf. You would give it to them. And at the end, Gandalf would be worth 2 victory points. Other special abilities, like here with Faramir, which says double one of your other symbols. So let's say you have here Human Warrior, you have 2 blue ones, you could double that to make it 3. Pippin is also one that says that you can ask another player for help. Glorfindel says, when attacking enemies with more than 2 symbols, use an additional wild symbol. So, like for instance, Ugluk here has more than 2 symbols, and you could use another wild symbol to defeat him. Theoden also says double one of your other symbols. All right, not his symbol, but one of the other cards. Here, Angbor says, when played, pick up 1 card immediately. So you would grab 1 card from the deck. The game ends when there are no more enemy cards. So when all of these are gone. And in that case, each player adds up the point values of their enemies that they captured or defeated. Okay? So for instance, here player 1 has 6 plus 3, that's 9, 10, 13. They had 13. Here player 2 has 16, 17, 27, and plus they have 29 with Gandalf and the 30 with Merry. All right, so player 2 would be the winner. And that is how you play The Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth, the card game. A very simple game, but it's a lot of fun. Enjoy.